appropriate background. Is it Luke or João Reis is probably co-hosting, so I'll ask him if he has heard about Professor
So
Maria da
Professor
Graça.
Maria, she's online. Just
Oh,
let me
lovely.
wait for two
So
more minutes. Okay,
beautiful, beautiful. Oh, now I can see her. Lovely. Good morning, Maria da Graça. Thank you very much. That's my first words to thank you for your time. And let me just introduce you to some of my colleagues, particularly the younger ones that may not know you. Professor Maria da Graça is a well-renowned scientist. She is in mechanical engineering. That's her background, her scientific background, so thermodynamics and all those things. But today she is with us as a member of the European Parliament. So she's speaking from Brussels. And she will be talking about the new European Community Program in Science, which will be called Horizon Europe, if I get my names right. And since many of us are interested in knowing more about it and finding out how can we continue to participate as in the past, I'll leave you, colleagues and friends, with Professor Maria da Graça Carvalho. Thank you again, Maria da Graça, for your time and your being with us, to be with us. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you very much. I would like to thank Professor Carlos Salema and the organization of this conference for the kind invitation. It's very timely because to present Horizon Europe, as Horizon Europe is quite recent. We had the last negotiations were done just some days ago. So this PowerPoint, that is the official PowerPoint presenting Horizon Europe, still doesn't have the small details of the final negotiation, but all the structure is the same, didn't change in the final negotiation. But now it's finalized, was already in January that it was everything finalized, but retroactivity will start all the actions 1st of January this year, like we have promised and like it should be. For the ones that are not so familiar with the European way of working, we work in periods of 7 years. So the European budget has 7 years, and this year, 1st of January 21, starts a new period until the end of 27. So usually the negotiations of the budget are very difficult negotiations. All the member states contribute according to their population and their GDP. And after we need to agree on the distribution of the budget among the different policies. And the three main policies, the three main programs are the regional funds, the agriculture, and the third one in size and is the research and innovation. So these are the three big amounts of funds that we have in European Union. There is a difference in the management of these three programs, that the regional and agriculture is what we call shared management. So the main political guidelines are defined in Brussels, but the management, the day-to-day life, the distribution of the money is done in the member states, central in the member states or in the regions, like it happened in Portugal. The regional funds and agriculture are after done by the Portuguese authorities. In Horizon Europe, that is the science and innovation, is called Horizon Europe. The management is done in Brussels, so it's centrally managed, is not a shared competence with the member states. So it's a competitive program. Excellence is the criteria. So there is no quotas for countries. The budget is not divided by countries. So therefore is the quality of the proposal, is the quality of the team that is the important factor to get approved. So it's a very competitive, so in some areas it's quite difficult, but for example, Portugal has improved, increased a lot the participation in the framework programs. This is, I think, already the 9th framework program. For many years until the 7th, it was called only first framework program, second, 7th framework program. The 8th framework program was the first to have a name. So it was framework program of research and development. After this framework program of research and innovation. And on the 8th framework program, there was a decision to call it Horizon 2020. That was the one that just finished. And I was fortunately to be the rapporteur, because at that time I was also in the European Parliament. And we decided to give a name, and we gave Horizon 2020. Now it continues with the name, and the one that has just started in January is called Horizon Europe. Can I have the next slide, please? The next, yeah. Okay. So the research and innovation program has a part of the, as you will see later on, that is devoted to fundamental research, where we do not set up any priorities, but there is other parts of the program where they are aligned with the political priorities of the European Union, and the political priorities is have been set by the present college, but is in continuation of the previous in the previous mandate. One important priority is to tackle climate change and everything that is related with development, with the environment and sustainable development goals, and also the competitiveness and the growth of the European economy. To all that, because this vision was defined before the pandemic, the pandemic crisis that we are now, so we have added to these three objectives also the objective of to have a more resilient society in terms of health, and also in terms of responses to crises like pandemic crisis or other crises. So it's an extra objective that we have been adding to the vision for Horizon Europe. Can we have the next slide? Europe is performing very well in terms of research and special fundamental research. We have 7% of the world population, and we account for 20% of the research and development, and 1/3 of the high quality scientific publications. However, we are not performing so well when we talk about transforming the knowledge into innovation and entrepreneurship. There is a graph there that shows the EU business R&D investment, and we are much lower than the US, South Korea, or Japan. So we have to learn a lot with these, I would say, in certain way, global competitors. And many studies have been done to understand the cause of this, and they are mainly related with the lack of an ecosystem that attracts investment and it is favorable to business. And this is due to, as we all know, and especially the ones in countries like Portugal, is able to not have a taxation system that is favorable to business, a justice system that is too slow and also not friendly to business, labor laws that are not flexible enough for business to be attracted. So all these conditions, very high degrees of bureaucracy, all this makes that we are quite good in developing knowledge, and after to transform this knowledge in value, and especially when the companies need to grow and to scale up, they usually go out of Europe, and that is the main problem that we have. Go to the US or somewhere else, Singapore, or because they have more favorable conditions for business. And this is probably one of the major problems that we are facing in Europe. And next slide. So these were I have summarized this. This was a CBU was a meeting that high level group of the heads of states and the commissioners that have, before we start developing Horizon Europe, that set up the important guidelines for Horizon Europe, to focus the research and innovation on the ecological, social, and economic transitions, also to have more disruptive innovation, and to focus on cutting edge research and innovation. So can we have the next slide? So we have an ambitious, the Horizon Europe is our funding problem, but apart from the funding program, we have a whole policy for research and innovation that the main document is that now is being revised, is the European research area. I'm rapporteur of the European research area, and the main principles of the European research area is openness, is promoting the mobility of students, mobility of researchers, mobility of university and higher education professors. So to build what we call an European, a true European research area, and the cooperation, to make people to cooperate in spite of the place where they are geographically located in Europe. We also have as objective to boost the capacity, the skills, and not only in the research, but to relate with the business, to transfer knowledge and capacity with related skills, long life training. And a third objective is also to involve the citizens so that they understand what we are doing in research and they see the value of research. We had the ambitions of to have a program with 100 billion euro, Horizon Europe. The previous one, Horizon 2020, had 80 billion, but was involving the UK. Yeah. Now we don't have the UK, and we didn't manage to arrive to 100 billion in the final negotiations, but we arrived to 95.5. So it's not bad. It's not as much as the Parliament would like. We would like more. We have fought for more, but we had a big fight with the council. So the council, the governments, the representatives of the 27 member states want less, much less. So the final result was not bad. Compared with the previous one, if we take in consideration that now we don't have the UK, it represents an increase of 30% in the times of crisis, we can consider a good result. Not as much as we would like, but it's still a good result. You have the next one. The added value, I think that for you that are researchers or will be that are in an institution of higher education and research, you know the added value of a program like this, from attracting the best talents and give them reasons to stay in Europe, to promote the transnational cross-border collaboration, to create critical mass so people are not working alone in their corners, they cooperate in networks. The fact that they have to compete promotes excellence, give more visibility to research that is done in Europe. We promote mobility, we create new market opportunities, and we strengthen the European research and innovation landscape. So there's a lot of benefits for Europe. And for the benefits for Europe, I want to tell you one story that shows how Horizon framework programs are important. The CEO of BioNTech has been a benefit of the Horizon and framework program since, I suppose, framework program 5. In Horizon 2020, he had a large European Research Council fellowship that is a part of Horizon, as we're going to see, to develop a quite innovative idea that is mRNA for a vaccine against cancer. And he got this scholarship. And he developed quite very much that technology for a vaccine against cancer. When the pandemic starts, he decided to apply the same idea to the vaccine against COVID-19. And it was this study based on a ERC grant that gave rise to this new generation of vaccines that we have now, and that were the first ones to be in the market and the most efficient ones. After, in order to speed up, we had some more grants of Horizon 2020 for the collaborative work with other researchers. And to develop the vaccine, we had the grant of the European Investment Fund. So you see the importance of research and innovation, and the fact that we are capturing the best ideas and the best people, and that has value for the society. And when this was funding in the beginning, we didn't know if this will give results and be effective. It was a new vaccine against cancer. There was a risky research, but it was very good that it was funded, and it gave now very good results. Again, probably it's less known that Moderna, that is a US company, has started in Europe and has started as a very quite small startup financed by the SME instrument of Horizon 2020. So again, it was the second vaccine to be in the market, and also one that is very, very efficient. It shows that we are funding very important areas that are, we hope, one of the reasons that we will be able to fight the present crisis. Can we continue, please? Now, there was a first political agreement on Horizon in 19 of March 2019. We see there our commissioner, the previous commissioner that was Portuguese, the Commissioner Moedas. Now we have a new commissioner, that is Commissioner Maria Gabriel. So they had the first agreement, and as I told you, the final agreement was just a few days ago. Can we continue, please? Now, the structure of Horizon Europe, probably this is the most important slide. We have three areas, three pillars. The first one is excellence in science, is the more fundamental research. Inside there is the European Research Council. European Research Council are large scholarships for fundamental research in all the areas. We don't have a defined agenda. Usually each grant has about 1 billion or 2 billion, from 1 to 2 billions. And we have for younger researchers or for more established researchers. So we have two types of grants. We also have the Marie Curie fellowships, also for younger researchers. And we have the research infrastructure. So all this pillar is devoted to more fundamental research, and the European Research Council and the Marie Curie, that doesn't need to be in consortium, so it's for individual researchers. Pillar 2 is global challenge and industrial competitiveness. Here there are priorities that are defined, and is to finance collaboration networks. So is consortia of institutions that usually mix universities, research centers, and the companies, industry or other companies. And the priorities are health. A novelty compared with the previous program is culture, creativity. For the first time, we have culture and the creative sectors and industries as a priority in Horizon Europe. And this is quite important, is a novelty and is important for Europe. We have security, a third priority. We have digital and space. We have climate, energy and mobility, food, bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture and environment. These are the priorities that we have here. In Pillar C3, we have what we call the innovation, we call it Innovative Europe, and there we have a novelty that is the European Innovation Council. This replaces, for the ones that were familiar with Horizon 2020, replace the SME instrument, and is a bit different from the SME instrument. The SME instrument was more devoted to the more traditional sectors. The European Innovation Council is designed a bit like the European Research Council. They try to capture the startups that are very disruptive, very innovative. So it finances, it's not in consortium, it's an SME, a startup with a very innovative program, a very disruptive idea that applies and gets finances. It's a very interesting, it's new, let's see if it's going to be successful. For example, it's a big challenge for the Portuguese SMEs that probably was the previous one, the SME instrument was probably better suited for the Portuguese landscape. The European Innovation Ecosystem is a small program that countries can apply. This is more for the administrations in order to improve the European innovation ecosystem. So as I was telling you, the big problem in Europe is that our ecosystems are not very favorable to innovation. So there are difficult for the results to flow to the economy and to be valorized in the economy. The European Institute of Innovation and Technology is the only part of the framework program that has the triangle of knowledge, is higher education, research and innovation. So it's the only part that has higher education in combination. So it's proposals that involved higher education, research and innovation. I will talk a little bit in the end in more detail because this is a separate report. I was also rapporteur of this part, and we just got an agreement 1 week ago, and I will talk a little bit in the end what is the EIT, that is a quite interesting mechanism. The widening participation is was a novelty in Horizon 2020. For the first time, we managed to have something devoted to that is not only based on excellence, is also based on the performance of the countries as a whole. As you probably can imagine, the results of the previous framework programs were very concentrated in some countries in Europe. The more industrialized countries get much better performance there than the more peripheral countries. And in the end, countries like, for example, the Eastern European countries, more the South European countries were contributing more to the European budget than they were getting in return. So there was main complaints that countries like Poland, like Romania were heavily financing the research in Germany, the research in Netherlands, the research in UK. So we managed to introduce what we call the widening countries. The widening countries are the countries that were lower than the average of the participation in Horizon at that time in Horizon 2020, and they would have a budget only for them in order to improve the performance. And in there we have two schemes, that is the twinning and the teaming, where an institution from a widening country would match with an institution of a more developed country in terms of research and innovation, and they would apply together, and the most funding would be for the one in widening. So imagine we were a country widening because we were lower than average. Now we are not lower than average, but we managed to negotiate to stay as a widening country, because we defend that this could be a transition period. We need to be consolidated, so we will continue to be a widening country. So imagine that the technical area would find an agreement, would do an agreement with an institution in Germany or in Holland that they are not a widening country, and they apply for a teaming in another in one area, for example. And these are very large scholarships. We were very successful during Horizon 2020. For example, we have a biodiversity center in Oporto that was financed by the team of 100 million euros. We have a center of excellence on health for the University of Coimbra and the hospital in Coimbra of 15 million. So all funding by the team. We continue to be eligible for this widening, and this is very, very interesting. And I draw the attention of institutions like the Portuguese institutions that can continue to apply to the teaming and twinning. Can we have the next slide? So this is the division of the budget. The most of the budget is for global challenge, European industrial competitiveness, because there are all the industrial partnerships that I will talk a bit later. Can you have the next slide, please? So these are the key, a summary of the key novelties compared with the previous Horizon 2020. Is the European Innovation Council, as I have explained, is the research and innovation missions that inside Pillar 2, we have 5 missions that I will tell you later what are the 5 missions. What are the missions? Are larger programs with the involvement of the citizens to make sure that the citizens are also involved with the research and innovation that is performed in Europe. We stress and strengthen the possibility of international cooperation. We continue with the policy of open science. We have a more simple approach for partnerships, and we continue the spreading of excellence, the widening that I just told you about. Can we have the next slide? The European Innovation Council, I already explained to you. We can go on. The missions, I will present the missions in the next slide. Can we have the next slide? I think we have 5 missions. One on adaptation to climate change, another in cancer, another in health and soil health, so more devoted to agriculture and food, another in smart cities, climate neutral and smart cities, and the 5th one on oceans and inland waters. So there are mission boards with like an expert group that are now design what are the missions, and very soon there will be calls, call for proposals in these different areas. So it's more or less like the previous cooperation projects, networks, but they need to pay attention that, for example, in cancer, they have to involve the organization of patients, the NGOs that deal with prevention or that deal with the problems with the family of people with cancer. So it needs to involve the society in these consortia. Are the main difference of the missions compared with the traditional cooperation network collaboration program. Next, please, slide. So the partnerships, we try to have a simpler way of partnerships. We have too many partnerships. What is the partnerships? Partnerships is inside Pillar 2, mainly on industry and the societal challenge. There are cooperation and funding. So they are in certain way co-funding between the European Commission, the private sector, and in some cases with the member states. Some cases we have 3 sources of funding. Sometimes it's only 2, is only the Commission and the private sector. I will show in more detail what are the paid partnerships later on. Can we continue? The areas of the partnerships are health, digital, metrology, aviation, biotechnology, hydrogen, clean mobility, and innovative SMEs. The international cooperation, we have and we are very proud that we have the more open program in the world. All the countries that have relations with the EU can participate in Horizon Europe. Of course, the conditions are different. We have countries, the neighborhood countries and the ones in pre-accession countries have certain more favorable conditions. After we have countries that have special agreements and they participate almost like they are member states. They don't participate in the definition and in the negotiation, but after in the process, they participate like a member state. For example, Switzerland, in parts of Horizon is like this. Israel is also like this. We hope that in the future, UK is going to be like this. We are trying to negotiate an association agreement now with the UK. And all the countries, apart from the developing countries, they pay their fair share, what they get, plus administrative fee. In the case of developing countries, they can be funded by the Horizon Europe without paying back. So some of the African countries, if justified the participation, they can receive funds from Horizon Europe without the country paying back that funding. Can we go on? So we continue with the policy of open science. Is mandatory open access to publication, open access to research data, unless there are a justification for not to have the data open. Please, the next one. The widening, as I told you, very important for countries like Portugal. We continue to have the teaming and twinning and also the area chairs. Area chairs I didn't talk about are a chair for higher education, but also for research from a country that is not the widening, so the ones that have better participation in Horizon, that comes for a certain period to an institution of a widening country. The first era chair that Horizon 2020 attributed was to University of Madeira in the areas of ICT, if I recall. So, and it's very important to have someone that is using to have projects from European Union to spend some time in the university, like the University of Madeira, of course, apart from the whole scientific benefits of having a person like that in the university is also all the knowledge, how to apply, all the contacts, all the networks that this person brings to the university, in this case, University of Madeira. Can we continue? So a little bit on detail. This is the division so in excellent science, we have European Research Council about 16 billion, Marie Curie 6.8, research infrastructure 2.4. The research infrastructure are mainly financed by the member states. Next one. So this is the budget for the global challenge and the European industrial competitiveness, 52 billion. Next. And the European Innovation, Innovative Europe, the European Innovation Council, 10 billion. The European Innovation Ecosystem is very small, and the European Institute of Innovation and Technology is 3 billion. That I have already explained. The widening has 3.3% of Horizon Europe, so it's more or less 3 billion of the budget. Again, we try again, like we did in Horizon 2020, to simplify the rules, to simplify the grants, the accounting practice. But we do that in each framework program, and after the practice starts getting more complex, and usually I say, doing the analogy with the thermodynamics, that this is like the entropy, with all bureaucracies like entropy, only increases. So we really need to take out the energy of the system to try to decrease the entropy. And is one of the problems that we have with the European programs. Is usual, they are bureaucratic. They are now less than it used to be in the past, because we have made a big effort to simplify, but still we need to continue on that effort of simplification. Next one. One point that we want to promote is the synergies with other programs. We know that there will be a lot of fundings for regional funds and for the recovery plan. So we want that, and we know that we need large projects to face the big problems that we have in front of us. Like I was explaining with the vaccine development, it was financed by the Horizon 2020 with the ERC, but after we need to get money for the EIB, and if they had been the region where they were, if they had access to regional funds, probably they could apply to regional funds for the production phase. So we want that this flow of the chain of innovation from fundamental research to the production could be helped by different European programs, and that is done in a smooth and simple way. So theoretical is already possible. We have put all the provisions in the regulations. In practices, it's not so simple, because it continues to have different rules in the different programs. But it's already possible, and we are advocating that the partners should do that. They should plan from the beginning. This part we are going to apply to Horizon. This part, after, for the pilot scale, we can apply to a different program, and for the industrial production, we will apply to the regional fund or to the recovery plan. So we would like this to work in a quite smooth way. Can we have the next one? So here I have some of the links. It was already yet Moedas there. Now, as I told, is Maria Gabriel. But the other links are the same. Can we have the next one? That was a quotation of our commissioner, the previous commissioner. Now, these are the 49 partnerships already simplified, because Horizon 2020 had much more partnerships. So this is Pillar 2, the one that has 52 billion. Now, these partnerships, especially the ones that are in orange and yellow, have each of them different reports that are now under negotiation. The ones that are down in yellow are the EIT. They are part of the EIT, European Institute of Technologies. The ones in orange up there are the biggest ones, and are the ones that are public to private partnerships. Each of them has a report, and I don't know if I had the privilege of what should I call, I'm the rapporteur of the partnerships. It's a huge amount of work, because each of them is quite technological, with different technologies, and probably I'm one of the MEPs that has more technical background. So I inherited this huge work to be a partner, rapporteur of this partnership. I think, can we have the next slide, please? Okay. The one that I have start first, the partnership on high performance computing, is an important one, but is one of the 49. And we probably, for this audience, I don't need to explain why high performance computing is so important. We really need to have capacity, computer power in Europe. We have the possibility, and we are very good on the applications in the modeling, to develop models for fluid flow, for climate change, for aerodynamics and structural analysis in aviation. We have fantastic researchers in many of these areas in health, but when we compare the computer power, we are very much behind compared with the US and with Southeast Asia. So we really need to try to give Europe the computer power that is required for the scientific development, but also the industrial development. Can we have the next? No? So we are creating what we call the Euro HPC joint undertaking. Here is a partnership between the public, the private, and the member states that wants that the European Union becomes a world leader in hyperconnect supercomputing, quantum computing, and data infrastructure. We have for these I'm at the moment doing the report, so I need to negotiate with the Council and the Commission, but our proposal is to have a budget of 8 billion euro for the period of 21-33. So the joint undertakings, one of the characteristics is a period that can be longer than the framework program. So the framework program finished in 27, the joint undertakings can be a bit longer. The main objective is to have an infrastructure investment, so to invest in a world-class supercomputing and quantum computing service and data infrastructures. So to have also a data infrastructure, to create a competitive supercomputing ecosystem with the developing of competence centers, to develop the skills, to continue to financing the research and the innovation in the area. And so widening the HPC use and development of the key HPC skills. It's not an easy task. For example, under this framework, under this joint undertaking, under this partnership, we foresee one supercomputer for Portugal is almost agreed. That one, so the plan is to have 8 supercomputers, and one will be for Portugal. Next one, please. Can you jump to about 3, because I will come back to the EIT. Can we go a little bit to next one? No, I don't have, no, can you go up? Sorry, I thought that I had the list of the, a bit up, please. Up, okay. So, down, this one. So I have explained the edge performance computing, but the other ones that I want to draw your attention that are of the same level of magnitude are the clean hydrogen. We have a partnership to develop the infrastructure, the research, the skills on hydrogen. We have another on aviation, so that the main partner is the Airbus and the Rolls-Royce and the companies that are associated with the Airbus development. And the main objective is to have a cleaner aircraft. We have also one that is called Shift to Rail, and now probably is going to be called European Rail. And we have another one that's also very important for Europe, that the circular bio-based Europe. So circular economy and all the biotechnology. And apart from this, we have a key digital technologies, microelectronics, and it's a very important one. Apart from this, we have two on health. One is called Innovative Health Initiative, and combines most of the big pharma and research and innovation institutes that the mission is to develop innovative medicines, therapies, and vaccines. But we have a separate one on global health partnerships that is devoted mainly to the global threats. Until now, because they have been starting to develop before the pandemic, this one was mainly devoted to AIDS, malaria, tuberculosis, dengue. Now is going to include pandemics like the coronavirus kind of pandemics. So these are the main partnerships, all with quite big budgets, very technological, as you can see, and is my work in the next 6 months. The one that is more advanced is the HPC that I just showed, and we want to finalize the negotiations still under the Portuguese presidency. We are now with the Portuguese presence of the Council until the end of June. The other ones probably we're not able to finalize them, but let's say October they will be finalized, so that everything is finalized during this year, that the calls for proposals, they can start open already this year, the call for proposals in these areas. Okay, now I will explain the EIT, that is the ones that are down in yellow. As I told you already, the EIT is the only part of the framework program that combines higher education, science, and innovation. There is also the error chair, that is quite a small thing. This is a big part. And they are organized what we call KICs, knowledge and innovation communities. The EIT already exists since 2008. Can we have the next slide? And from 2008, they already have the KIC on climate, one on digital, one on energy, food, health, manufacturing, raw materials, and urban mobility. So the KICs has a core group of partners, and after they open calls for other partners to participate, always with programs that involves in an integrated way. Is not to have a program on higher education, another on research, another innovation. It's a program in an integrated way on higher education, research, and innovation. In this new EIT that we finalized the negotiations 1 week ago, we have included 2 new areas. I was also rapporteur of this. We include two new areas. One is the culture and creative sectors and industry. That is a novelty for the whole horizon, and it's quite interesting, quite good also with the component of higher education. I know, for example, that the Polytechnic lady has an interest on culture, arts, and together with, because we cross, we do we favor the combination of the new technologies with the arts, ICT and art, and so the multidisciplinary proposals. So this is an area to look for and to pay attention. And the second kit that we managed to have is oceans and waters in general. So this is also very interesting to Portugal and many institutions in Portugal. Next slide, please. I think that is the end. Yeah. So this is the end. It's a very speed overview, but at least gives you the areas where you can try now to find more information. I will also say that we have in Portugal a unit that supports the participation to the framework program, to the Horizon Europe, that works very well. Part is in FCT, part is in the Agência of Inovação, Agência de Inovação. So if we decide to apply to one of these areas, one of the first things is to contact the contact point in this Gabinete de Apoio à Participação no Programa Quadro, it's the name, and to talk with the people that will give you advices how to start participating, to look for partners, to start reading the papers, to start planning earlier, and to find the right partners, because the right partners are the ones that are successful already, that have a lot of proposals, give you a better chance of having good proposals. So to learn with the ones that are already having good proposals so that you can succeed, because the rates of success are quite low, and to do a proposal is a lot of work. So thank you very much, and I don't know if we have time for some questions, one or two.
Thank you, Maria de Graça. It was very, very interesting to follow your presentation. Quite new things that we've heard about, but not so much. And I believe there are lots of questions, but I'll try to use my privilege as the chairman to ask you a first one. Well, EU partners, sorry, UK partners, we have a lot of UK partners. Now the UK has left the EU. Are there new rules for the UK partners to join in? How are things? Because we don't know much about it. I presume things are not yet fully defined, but anyway, if you can give us some information on that, that'll be nice.
Yeah. As you probably know, in the agreement of the Brexit agreement, it was decided that the UK will participate in Horizon Europe, all Horizon Europe, apart from the EIC, the European Innovation Council, that is for mono participants companies. So they will not participate on that. So yes, they can participate. The rules, the detailed rules are now being defined on an association agreement. We are doing a pressure for is the commission that is negotiating with the minister in the UK to define the details. So I hope that is very soon. We are doing quite an important pressure for them to speed up the process. So that there is no delays or no gaps, but they will be able to participate in everything apart from the EIC. They will pay back what they get plus the fee, but that is for the government to deal with the commission, but they will be able.
Thank you. Anybody would like to ask questions? we have an unique opportunity to have somebody well in the process, well inside the process.
Yeah, Professor Nuno Rodrigues.
Come on.
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Sure.
Yeah.
Good morning, Professor Graça Carvalho. Thank you very much for your excellent presentation. It is very good to hear some new and exciting news about this new program. Congratulations also for some of the aspects of the new design, notably the inclusion of the culture and creativity industries. It is something that also is a strong sign of the commitment with some of the major European values. I'd like to ask you if you could please comment on the two aspects. Of course, we are excited also to know about the European GIT and the synergy with other programs. And I'd like to ask you this specifically in the framework of the new European Universities Alliances. Polytechnic of Leiria leads an alliance for an European university, and this is also the case for many of the institutions that participate in the telecommunication institutes. We have now watching live some of our colleagues from our network, from the Regional European Network. It's an alliance with 8 higher education institutions in 6 different countries. So my question would be, and of course we, besides the aspects of pedagogical innovation with the creation of future and advanced skills academies, short advanced programs, which are modular unities to provide flexible learning pathways for double and joint degrees in the future. We have a strong focus on research and innovation with the creation of joint international teams and also the 3 different European innovation hubs. We have secured already a complementary support action by Horizon 2020, as many other European universities. So I'd like to ask you if there are any predicted, also in the framework of Horizon Europe, any predicted complementary actions, and how will be the synergy with the Erasmus program for the European universities, and also if you have any other plans regarding European universities, also within the framework of EIT, because this core group of partners, and of course we have not only research institutions, education institutes, but also associated partners from the industry and governments. If there are any plans regarding the European universities, and thank you once more.
Thank you very much. The culture and creative industry sector was a proposal from the Parliament. Was not easy, so we are very happy that is now a priority. The EIT, there are 2 parts. There are the KICs that already exist, and the core groups are formed. Of course, they can also open for new parts of the core board, but is not very frequent. But you can always apply to the calls that they open for projects. So be attentive for the calls that the existing KICs open in the different areas. The second point is the 2 new KICs. The first one to open is going to be the culture and creative industry. There will be only one consortium because it will be create one KIC. And it's important to try to know what are the strongest consortia that are already developing in Europe, so that if you are interested, you can try to get associated to this consortium. After, if you are not in the core group, you can always apply when they open calls for proposal. On the synergies, the EIT is going to have a pilot part, a bit separate from the KICs, on higher education, where the universities can apply. So I would also draw your attention, is a pilot action that DG EAC, the DG of Education and Culture of the Commission, really wanted a lot to have this pilot action to finance universities, a little bit separate from the rest of the activities of the EIT. So inside the EIT is going to be a separate program for consortiums of universities that will be very much related to the other programs that you are already involved. So pay attention to this pilot action on education inside the EIT. They will open probably still this year calls for proposals, so it will be an important, will be a source of funding for universities. In general on the synergies, there is now possibility of doing synergies in merging the funds inside the same project, for inside the same project to have funds from one program and funds from another program. But I presume is going to be quite complex. What I advise is if you have a plan, a work plan, you divide parts and you apply one part to one program and you apply another part to another program. Because of the complexity of the rules, can create big problems if you merge inside one project funds from different European programs. So the idea is that we should do synergies through all out the different landscape of programs such Erasmus, EIT, regional funds, but in my opinion, the easiest way is this part of our activity, you apply to that part of the activity, we apply to that, and we just refer that the activities are part of an overall plan of activities of the institution. And I would mix in the same project different programs. That is now possible, but I foresee that it's going to be complicated. So is my advice. But please use and use the possibilities of the regional funds and of the recovery plan, because it's going to be a lot of money. And we hope that is well applied. And so the more you apply with the interest projects in higher education, in science, innovation, it's a guarantee that is well applied and doesn't go to other things that are not so useful for the country.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria da Graça. Well, the watch is our master, so I must comply and thank again Maria da Graça very much indeed for your presentation, for all the information you've supplied to us. And well, good luck in Brussels. Hope the weather is as bad as it is in Portugal currently, at least for the last month or so.
No.
It's no. Here it rains every day, a lot. But anyway, we would like to see you back home. If you ever come here, we'd like to show you a little bit around our institute. So feel free to let me know if you come and if you would have a little time for us. Thank you again very, very much indeed.
Thank you very much for the invitation and congratulations for the conference.
Thank you.